and this faith journey has produced is peace and joy. And so, God, we enter your gates today with thanksgiving. We are thanking you that we are growing up in faith. We are thanking you that we are becoming and beholding and becoming changed for the time we have spent in your presence.
Hello. Hey, y'all. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi. All right, y'all. Welcome. Today's edition of Midday Manna. My name is Leonore Jones, and I have the awesome privilege of being the proprietress of a wonderful kingdom enterprise called Legacy Builders. I own this business in partnership with my husband, who you will see a lot more in the coming weeks, months, and years, right? Because who knows, we're playing the long game, right? Legacy is a long game. And I've been doing this Midday Manna thing now for about 4 years, guys, 4 years. So if this is your first time, welcome. If this is, anything after first, you are welcome, and we invite you to go to the YouTube channel. That's my YouTube channel. It's in my name, Leonore Reynolds Jones. I'm gonna actually change it and I think it's called the Legacy Builders Network. I'll put it up there, but there you will find all, and I mean all, all the Midday Mannas and all broadcasts that you may have missed. It's all stored there on my YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. Now, I would, there's housekeeping where they tell you, you should tell people that what you want them to do. So how I told you could go to the YouTube channel, I should tell you that I would love if you would subscribe to the channel if you want to continue to consume that type of content. I should tell you that you should share this video, right, with as many people as possible who you feel like it's the middle of the day. They might be a little parched. They're in a dry season and they need a little manna. What is manna? I am so glad you asked. This is anytime, I just want to remind you why this broadcast is called what it's called. It's called Midday Manna because, of course, I'm live. It's midday. It's 12 o'clock. And it's manna because manna was provision for a season. This is a divine revelation that I received several months, not months. It's been years. Again, we've been doing this for about 4 years. So manna is provision for a season. And we see that in the Bible because when you see it, the children of Israel received manna. And they only received it one time. It was the journey from Egypt to the promised land. They left Egypt, crossed the Red Sea, no food. God fed them. And what did he feed them? Manna for the entire 40 years. And as soon as they crossed into the promised land, the Bible says the first time they ate a meal in the promised land, from the promised land, right? Because it wasn't just that, okay, they crossed over and manna didn't fall. It was after their first meal in the promised land that the manna stopped falling. And so I want you to know that God is still giving manna. He's still providing for his children in their transition seasons. And so I am coming to you every Wednesday in the middle of your day, middle of your week, because who knows, sometimes it's the middle that's the hardest, right? Sometimes it's the middle that's the hardest. Like, at the beginning, you have all this rah, right? And this, all this, what do we call it? Motivation and all this energy. And with the end, I think if you know the end is in sight, just knowing the end is in sight gives you another, they talk about your hidden energy or the last push to the finish or whatever. So it's the end and the beginning have a level of energy that the middle, just like you're like, all right, get up, new day, same story, still here, not closer. I still see it over there, and I don't feel any closer today than I did yesterday. And even if you're closer, closer doesn't mean it's within touching distance. Closer doesn't mean it's the end. And so sometimes you need something in the middle. In the middle, ladies and gentlemen. And that is what I hope to provide to you today and every time I go live for Midday Manna. Having said all of that, what's our topic today? Our topic today is it's up to you. It's up to you. And I'm going to tell you about the topic. I'm going to tell you about it's up to you. I'm going to tell you what was up to me. I'm going to tell you what's happening. And I am finally making an announcement and going out live. And we're going to talk a little bit about this thing that is happening coming up shortly. So it's up to you. What's up to you? I use the YouVersion Bible app. Okay, I use the YouVersion Bible app. That's pretty much one of two Bible apps on my phone. YouVersion is kind of where like you'll get a devotional thought, but then if I'm doing deep study, I use the Blue Letter Bible app. That one has the concordance and all the stuff, so I can do deeper study. So, but I interchange between both apps quite frequently, but generally I'll get up and I'll open YouVersion because one, I'll get a verse of the day, and two, there's a nice little thought that goes with the verse of the day. Today's verse is, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And I think it's the Kendrick brothers. I think, don't quote me. I think it's them, and they're talking, and y'all, you know me. If you know me, you know I don't watch TV, and I'm not visual. I'm auditory. So that means that I skip the video and read. But my friend who watched it said that what I'm about to share with you goes right along with what they said in that video. Excuse me. And the thing, and so from that verse, they were talking, the reading itself talked about this idea that, Satan attempted to manipulate Jesus at his weakest moment, right? He had been led by the Spirit. And I just want to, let's just, 30-second timeout. He was led by the Spirit to one of the most difficult things he ever had to endure in his human flesh. Can you imagine no bread, no water, no meat, no juice, nothing for 40 days and 40 nights? Can you just imagine? Some of you are going through something and you think you have made a wrong turn, that this can't possibly be what God intended for you because of how hard it is. And I'm telling you, it is. Because Jesus was led by the Spirit, intentionally led by God in the wilderness for 40 days. What happened in that wilderness? Well, he was prepared, right? This was right after God said, this is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. He gets baptized. He goes into the wilderness. And so what happened in the wilderness prepared him for ministry. And so I want you to, and you've heard all the sermons, don't waste your wilderness season, all of that. But I just want you to know that the wilderness is not proof that God isn't with you. Whoever that's for, it's there. But hear me, your present experience, if it's dry, if it's hard, if this feels like the most difficult situation, I'm going to have to say this, your feelings lie. Your feelings aren't the truth. The truth has a name. The truth has a name. And who's the truth? His name is Jesus. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so sometimes we go through difficult things, and because it's so difficult, we automatically assume and we feel, I feel like God has left me. I feel like nobody cares. That's not true. That's not the truth. The truth says that I will never leave you or forsake you. And so what you do is you take those feelings and you process them against the truth. Is God a feeling? No. What does God say about my present situation? Who am I going to believe? Process your feelings versus against the truth, and then hold on to the right one. And that's why this broadcast is entitled It's Up to You, because many of the things we are facing, we are experiencing, it comes down to what you choose. Like my girl Monica is on here, and she is amazing at teaching other people to do live content, but she will tell you that like it starts with what? Choosing to go live. Like, oh, I don't have anything to say. Start. You can't finish. You won't get there if you never start. It starts with a choice. And I'm going to also say this. Research teaches you that motivation, we actually have it wrong. Most people think you need motivation to start. The truth is that you are motivated after you start. For the most part, you aren't motivated to do something. You do something and then you get motivated to continue, particularly if it's a favorable result. But the whole, oh, I'm going to wait till I feel motivated, you're going to be waiting a real long time, friends, because that's not how that works. And so back to our story here. So this difficult thing that you are experiencing, you process it through the truth, right? And the truth is you are not alone. The truth is you are going to make it out of this. The truth is God has a plan for you. But the bigger truth is where we hopped off the train and we're hopping right back on is that Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness. Led by. So this very dry, difficult, barren season, your present experience is not a measure of the presence of God in your life. So there is that. So we go, and so after Jesus comes out, now he goes through that full 40 days. So he goes through the full difficult situation. He goes through all that like he can, and he goes through all of this. And what happens? What happens after he goes through all of this? You would think, okay, he is at his weakest point. Now, he's going to be good. No, it is at that moment where the enemy comes and it's like, all right, I know you're hungry. I know you're thirsty. I know you're at your weakest. And I know who you are. Because think about it. I know you're hungry. I know you're thirsty. I know you're at your weakest. But we don't talk about the fact that the enemy knew who Jesus was even before he knew. The enemy knew him and tailored the temptation to who he knew he was. You are going through some stuff and you're wondering, why is this so hard? It's because the enemy knows who you are. You might not be acting like it yet. Like, understand, this happened before Jesus performed any miracle. Before the feeding the 5,000, before raising Lazarus from the dead, before the enemy came, and what did he ask him? What did he tell him? If you are the Son of God. He knew who he was talking to. Now, the people who were at the baptism, God was like, this is my son, and I'm pleased. But think about that. If you are who God himself said you are, do this. And so in the reading, they talked about this manipulative tactic. And I want y'all to just hear me say, let's be honest, witchcraft is manipulation. If you grow up in church, they talk about, oh, this is witchcraft and that's witchcraft and witchcraft and witchcraft. I am yes, call it what it is, but also allow the people to explain what it is. If manipulation and taking control, and 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 when I say taking control, manipulating people and circumstances for you to stay in control, or you use manipulation as a tactic for you to accomplish your own goals. That is witchcraft, ladies and gentlemen. Because, and how do we know? Because witchcraft is what? The enemy's agenda. And how do we know? And it is the opposite of God. How do we know it's the opposite of God? What did Jesus die for? Jesus died so that we could what? Have a choice. Even in the Garden of Eden, what Adam and Eve had what? Choices. And while salvation is available to everyone, you have to what? Choose to accept it. So God is out here giving us choice after choice after choice. So the moment you take away or hinder someone else's ability to make a choice, you have entered into an arena that is opposite God's agenda. And that is witchcraft. That is why, y'all know me? I'm telling you, I'm telling you. So that is witchcraft. And that's why it's such a big deal to be manipulative and controlling and underhanded because of whose agenda, right? And we love to say the Lord's Prayer, like, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. That also means giving people choices. Choice to disagree with you, choice to go their own way, choice to do it their way and not yours. Choices. God is a God of choice. Here I'm saying he's choice. I'm not saying he's pro-choice, because I'm not here for this political agenda and all this other foolishness. But God is a God of choice. He gives us, and that is also what makes us different to animals, right? Because the animals don't make no choice. They follow what? Instinct. So the minute you minimize your ability to make choices, you have also given up something of great importance. Anyway, so here we are, and I guess I had to give that segue for the person who was like, "Oh, I hear witchcraft all the time." Witchcraft has to do with choices. It's about control and it's about manipulation, both of which God continues to give you freely. Think about it. Why else would the Bible say? Jesus says, "I stand at the door and knock," and it's what? Your choice to open the door. And here you go, like taking other people. No, that ain't Jesus. That's not Jesus. Anyway, so here comes Satan, and he's causing Jesus, or his intent, we can read from the text, is to cause Jesus to not believe what who he is and who his father is. Because he says, if you are the Son of God. Now, again, this is after Holy Spirit done announced, "This is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased." The Father, Holy Spirit descends on a dove. You hear the audible voice of God announce that. And then here, 40 days in the wilderness, he's at his weakest point. Here comes the enemy. And just for scriptural reference, right? Because I haven't told y'all where I'm reading from in the Bible, and I don't want it to be said. So it's Matthew chapter 4, right? We're in Matthew chapter 4. And so that's where we are. And I just want you to be able to go and fact check me, right? Because I tell you, you need to fact check me all the time. And y'all be like, "Sis, what?" Yes, fact check me. I said, this is what Matthew chapter 4 says. Then you go read. And so in Matthew chapter 3 ends with Jesus being baptized. And Matthew chapter 4 opens with Jesus being led by the Spirit and into the wilderness for 40 days, 40 nights. He comes out, the enemy rolls up on him and is like, if you are the Son of God, turn these stones into bread. And Jesus' response, which is the verse of the day, is, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. And so I was reading it, and I'm going to give you the sentence that was given to me. And after this, I'm going to make my announcement and tell y'all what's coming up live. And then that's it. That's our midday manna today, right? Because it's your choice. It's your choice. And so I read the verse of the day. I read the devotion, and they're talking about how the enemy attempted to manipulate Jesus, right? And I'm telling you, we see how the manipulation happens because he was manipulating what? His identity, right? Because if you are the Son of God, but also, turn these stones into bread. And that part there, that turn these stones into bread, this is what God whispered to me. Just because it's within your power and ability doesn't mean it's in God's will. I'm going to say it again. Just because it's within, just because it's within your power and your ability doesn't mean it's in God's will. Because think about it. What Satan asked of Jesus was something he could do. He was the Son of God, and he had the power to turn the stones into bread. Like, think about it. By his word, Jesus made everything that was made. Jesus later on tells the wind to stop blowing, and it did. So you don't think he could turn these stones into bread? It was within his power and ability to do, but it wasn't the will of the Father. It was his Father's will that he stay hungry and go through this test at this diminished capacity. Because after the 3 temptations, it says what? Angels came and ministered to Jesus. And that gets me because Lord Jesus, this is so so we're here in Matthew chapter 4, and yes, I have to take it to read. Took him up to the temple. All of this happens, and then Jesus goes, and it says in verse 11, because of course it's verse 11, but Matthew 4 verse 11 says, and I want to read it. It says, how do we get to 5? My phone is acting, when I tell y'all, strange, but whatever. 4 verse 11, it says, then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. So it's your choice, okay? And I'm going to lay out the choice for you. Then I'm going to make this announcement, and then we're all done, okay? Here's the choice. The Spirit led Jesus into the wilderness, okay? Spirit led him into the wilderness. He goes 40 days, 40 nights, nothing. Here comes the enemy now at his weakest point. Like, literally, it's scientifically proven that you can only do an absolute fast for 40 days. After 40 days, your body begins to break down. So he is literally at the end of himself, at his weakest point. Nothing to give. And it is then that the enemy comes and over says, if you are the Son of God. Over and over, he's causing him to question his identity and his Father. Because who's your father? Like, is your father your father? And are you his son? Weakest point, identity and relationship to the father, over and over and over and over again. And again, the sentence God gave me was, just because it's within your power and your ability to do doesn't mean it's the Father's will. We can also then take from this passage that because Jesus has spent 40 days fasting and praying and being prepared for this, what if the 40 days was to prepare him to meet the enemy? So it means that he was fully dependent on God. He was hearing God, the Father, and the Spirit as clear as possible. So these 40 days tuned his ear, his heart, and his voice. And he knew, just because it's within my will, it's within my power to do this, doesn't mean it's the Father's will. That means it was the Father's will for him to meet the enemy at his weakest. And I'm talking to you because what happens is Jesus goes through this over and over. If you are the Son of God, turn the stones into bread. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down and tell the angels to catch you. Then he takes him to the highest place and says, I have laid the whole world at your feet. Right? And I lay all the kingdoms of the earth. And if you just bow down to me and worship me. And I'm so like, it's that crucial. At his weakest point, the things that were called into question over and over, his relationship with the Father, over and over, twice, it's if you are the Son of God. And then the third one isn't if you are, it isn't if you are who you say you are, or if your relationship with your Father is. The third one is, who do you worship? So we see this, and we see Jesus go through this at his weakest point. And he did not use what was within his power and ability to do. And I think many of us, we have come to the, this is nothing but Jesus. We have come to the end of what is a very difficult season. We have, and I have to slow all the way down and take my time through here, because I really believe God has a revelation. This is today's manna, guys. You have come through the wilderness. Through the wilderness. You spent your 40 days. You are tired. You are hungry. You are spent. However, you have heard God more clear than you've ever heard him before. Your spirit is in tune with the Spirit. And you have even now come to the place where you know who you are, and you are cemented in your relationship with the Father. I'm his son. I'm his daughter. And yes, my Father is able. And because I'm his child, that means this thing you are asking of me is within my capacity to do. It is within his capacity to turn the stones into bread. It is in his capacity. And I believe it is true that he could have jumped off and nothing would have happened, that the angels would have rescued him, or that God would have made it some way that he landed correctly. It is in his capacity. It is your choice who you worship. It is your choice. But the will of God was that he would go through all of this at his weakest point, have his identity tested, have his relationship with his Father tested, have who he would choose to worship tested. And the choice was to do the Father's will or to follow his own. And so over and over, we see Jesus combat the enemy with the word of God. And here's why I'm telling you this. This matters because right now, you are probably being tempted about who you are, about who God says you are, or about how to, and who you worship. And the question and the thing that matters is, are you going to do what is within your power and ability to do? Or are you going to do the Father's will? Are you going to do what is within your power and ability to do? Or are you going to do the Father's will? Because here's the reward of doing the Father's will. I read you verse 11, and what verse 11 says is that the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. So if you choose the Father's will, you get to see the Father's provision. Hear me. Angels came and ministered to Jesus. If you do what's in your ability, you are stuck doing it yourself. If you choose the Father's will, you get to experience the Father's provision. I don't think I can say it any clearer than that. And I think that is the perfect backdrop for me to tell you about this thing that I am choosing to do the Father's will. So last year in 2024, in 2023, actually, God gave me this idea and he told me about the global gathering. And over the months coming from August of last year all the way through, you saw me bring 7 amazing women before you. And they came and we talked about all these topics. And then in December of last year, December of 2023, we gathered together at the global gathering, and God did something mind boggling. I wish I promise y'all, it took me probably 4 to 6 months for me to even gather my words about what I experienced. When I tell you a tangible move of God, like I I I still don't even feel like I have adequate words to to describe the global gathering. I'm gonna post a video that Michael, my husband, made where he talked to the women after the global gathering, and he just got like them to give like 2 or 3 words about it, and I'll post that video. But at the end of it, we were transformed, we were filled, we were empty. We said, and I said over and over, that the global gathering is not a conference, because a conference is, and by definition, y'all know me and my words, by definition, a conference is a coming together of people to discuss a particular topic. So your conference, you can come together and y'all go on conference about social work, about mental health, and you're going to talk about it, and you're going to go through and you're going to do all the things. This is not that. A gathering is a meeting of people for a specific purpose. We are gathering together to have an encounter with Jesus and be transformed, because the Bible says by beholding, we become changed. And so God told me, do it again. So the global gathering is happening again. So global gathering 2.0. And you are expecting me to tell you that it's going to be in December in Baltimore. It's not. Global Gathering 2.0 will be in January in Atlanta, Georgia. Because what I learned from the experience is that it's better to start the year here than to end it, right? Like those ladies, they came, and I don't know, I'm like, I think about one particular lady. I kept asking her, like, so how are you? She was like, I don't have no words. It took her weeks and months. And so what I want for the ladies is to start the year here. Start the year with us and with God as we gather together. We petition the throne and we then set the tune and tenor of our year. If you have been in the wilderness season, if you have sat at tables that weren't for you, if you feel like your cup is empty, I want you to meet me in Atlanta, Georgia from January 10th to the 13th. I'm pretty sure those are the dates, but I don't have the flyer in front of me, which I should. Y'all forgive me. But yep, it's 10th to the 12th. So January 10th to the 12th of 2025. And we are having Global Gathering 2.0. Okay. You're going to hear me talk more and more about it. You will hear about who our speakers are. You will hear about our workshops. But what I want you to know is tickets go on sale today. The last thing I want you to know, the last thing I need you to know is the last time, and it was as many as possible. This time, we're for what we are anticipating God to do, it's going to be a smaller number. It's literally, it's about 50 slots, ladies and gentlemen. We only have about 20 premium slots and then an additional 25 in-person slots. So this isn't I have time. If you would like to attend the Global Gathering, I want you to scroll your fingers, that's right, across the keyboard, and you are going to go here. You're going to go to www.theglobalgatheringevent.com, and you are going to click on the tickets page, and you are going to get it. Okay. Our payment plan this year, it goes away after just before Thanksgiving. So you have a little bit of extra time. The payment plan goes away the week before Thanksgiving. Actually, the payment plan goes away on Black Friday. Let's make that even better. So the payment plan will go away on Black Friday. Okay. So payment plan options go away Black Friday, but you're going here, globalgatheringevent.com, and you are going to get your tickets. Again, seating is limited, spacing is limited. I am not going to keep coming on here and say, oh, we only have 5 slots available. I am going to tell you it is first come, first served. And we overall, for in-person attendance, we can only handle about 50 people. So if you want to be in the, and I don't know if this is even good, quote unquote, social media to tell you how many spots, but I'm just telling you, like right now, where we can only handle about 50. So if you want to be in and let's be clear, as I make this announcement, several slots have already been taken. So of the 50, it's less than 50 slots available. We have less than that. So, but I am telling you this because I want you to get there. I want you to be in the building. So who's this for? The Global Gathering is for the woman who is looking for something different. It's not going to be like any other event you've ever been to. And that's all I can promise you. You know you need to hear from God. You know that you are being led into spaces and places that you probably don't feel equipped for. Maybe you feel like you are just coming out of your wilderness season. Maybe you feel that you're being pulled in too many different directions and you're not showing. Maybe you've already exited the wilderness and you are being tempted by the enemy and he's asking you who you are. What is your relationship with your Father? Who and how and where are you going to worship? And you feel too weak to answer these questions. The Global Gathering is for you. I and the speakers, we are going to tackle sisterhood. It is a sisterhood summit. That is our topic today. This year, it's the Sisterhood Summit. We are going to deal with all things that stop women from being in proper and safe sisterhood. So if you feel like anything I have said applies to you, www.theglobalgatheringevent.com. That's where you're going. That's where you're going to secure your tickets. Again, seating is limited. Spacing is limited. If you have questions, then you can go over to the website right next to it, www.legacybuilders.com. Hit me up with your questions, your comments. You can comment below this video. You can reach me at Pasha. I have a website, ladies and gentlemen. It's leonorejones.com/start here. You go there. You can reach me. You can copy. You can send me a note there. Again, that's leonorejones.com. Just the name like you see it.com. Go there /start here. You go there and you see there's links to all these things that I'm telling you about. And there's a contact card that allows you to reach out to me. I thank you so much for joining me for today's edition of Midday Manna. I pray that you are blessed. I tell you, the choice is yours, and I'm praying. I am absolutely praying that you make the right choice today. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, I'm going to leave it right there. Bye-bye.
What our trust and this faith journey has produced is peace and joy. And so, God, we enter your gates today with thanksgiving. We are thanking you that we are growing up in faith. We are thanking you that we are becoming and beholding and becoming changed for the time we have spent in your presence.